Good morning, you guys. I had to make sure everything was all set up on my computer here. You might hear some background noises between the chickens or the cat or the dog or whatever. Okay, so we're back on to The Distance Between Us, and I am going to read you chapter 20. All right, let me get my share screen on here so you guys can follow along, and then I'll take the video off. Let's see. To make that bigger. Sorry, guys. There we go. And then I'm just going to close my camera. Boop. Okay. Now remember, I don't read these before you do, so I'm reading them right along with you. I'm experiencing it for the first time right along with you. So here we go. Chapter 20. Poppy checked us into a small hotel. There was only a full-size bed, a night table, a dresser, and a television in the room. Poppy said we three could have the bed. I'll sleep on the floor, he said. The floor was tiled, and I knew it would be uncomfortable to sleep on. But he said a bigger room cost more. And with any luck, we will only be here for one night, he said. He left us there to watch television, and he went out in search of food and a coyote, the smuggler who would take us across. We watched reruns of El Chavo del Ocho while we waited for Poppy. We'd never stayed in a hotel before, and we'd never watched TV in bed. For the first time, I found myself beginning to enjoy our journey north. Poppy came back with tacos and sodas. We head out tomorrow, he said. Eat your food and then go straight to bed. We'll leave early in the morning. The smuggler picked us up before sunrise at the hotel and drove us across the city. I was sleepy, and I found myself struggling to stay awake. I wasn't used to waking up that early, and I was groggy and grumpy. To make matters worse, that morning, I'd woken up with a toothache, and Poppy didn't have anything to give me. My tooth had hurt once in a while, and my grandmother had given me mint leaves to chew on. This time, there was nothing I could do except doze off, hoping that when I woke up, the pain would be gone. Nana, wake up! We're here, Mago said. The sun was just coming out when we came to a stop. We got out of the car and looked around. The border turned out to be nothing but dirt and bushes, rocks and weeds under a light blue sky. This is where we start, the coyote said. He looked at me and said, try to keep up, okay? You don't want to be left behind, do you? I looked at Poppy. My stomach clenched at the thought of being abandoned in the middle of nowhere. The coyote must have seen the terrified look on my face because he laughed and patted my head. I'm just teasing. Poppy's face was serious when he looked at us and said, stay alert and do as the coyote says. The coyote led us through a hole in a chain-link fence into the vacant land on the other side. We followed in silence. I looked at the ants scurrying around, gathering food. A hawk soared above in the wind. Birds chirped in trees. Lizards crawled under rocks. If I hadn't been so afraid, I would have been enjoying our adventure. But then I remembered that even though this place was beautiful, it was forbidden land. We were not welcome here. Once in a while, the coyote shouted orders to us, and we obeyed. Walk, hide, run, crawl. I wasn't used to walking and running so much and so fast. My tooth began to hurt even more, and around noon, as we walked through the hills under the heat of the sun, I began to get a fever. Mago put her arm around me so that I could lean on her as we walked, but soon we found ourselves lagging behind. Come on, Nana, you can do it, Mago said. Maybe we should turn around and go back, the coyote said to Poppy. He stopped and waited for us to catch up. It's hard making this journey with children. No, Poppy said. We keep going. She'll be okay. Poppy ended up carrying me on his back. I held on as tight as I could, branches grasping at me as if trying to tear me away from him. I didn't remember ever being given a piggyback ride by Poppy, and I wished we were somewhere else, like a park having fun. Not at the border, not when I was hungry and sick and terrified of being caught. My throat felt dry, and I asked for water for the 100th time that day. Not right now, Chata, Poppy said again as he struggled up the path. His breaths came in gasps. I knew Poppy was getting tired. Suddenly, a cloud of dust rose in the distance, and before we knew it, a white truck was heading our way. Run! The coyote yelled. We rushed into the bushes, and I clung to Poppy with all my might as he ran. He dove behind a rock. I gripped him so hard I choked him. He pulled free from my grip and muffled a cough into his arm. Had La Migra heard him? The truck pulled over, and men dressed in green, the men Poppy had called La Migra, got out of the truck. Come out, they said. There's nowhere to hide. They took us to the Border Patrol station. Mago, Carlos, and I waited in the hallway while the agents took Poppy into their office. We didn't know what they would do to us, to him. We waited and waited. Her eyes hurt from too much crying. Agents passed by without looking at us. More and more migrants arrived, mostly men and a few women, but no children. Even though they were just as afraid as we were, they looked at us and they smiled, encouraging us with their eyes. They said to me, have faith, don't give up. I don't know how long Poppy had been with the agents. I didn't know what they were asking him or what he was saying. But as the minutes went by, I began to wonder if they would ever let him go. What if they arrested him, arrested us? What if we never saw each other again? I clutched my brother and sister as fresh tears came out of my eyes. A Border Patrol agent with the bluest eyes I'd ever seen stopped in front of us and said something to us in English. We shook our heads, feeling stupid because we couldn't understand him, and we didn't know how to tell him that. We smiled and went to the vending machine. Then he came back with sodas for us. He patted our heads and walked away. I didn't realize that until then how hungry and thirsty I was. I had been too afraid to think about anything other than Poppy. We opened our sodas, and the sweetness of it gave me hope. It was a gift from a Border Patrol agent, from a gringo with kind blue eyes. Maybe the agents weren't so bad after all. Maybe they would understand that all we wanted was to have a family, and they would let us go. Hold on one second. Sorry. It was a few more hours before Poppy finally walked down the hallway to meet us. We were escorted out of the building, and soon we found ourselves back at the checkpoint near the border. We had to walk through a revolving metal door, and before we knew it, we were back in Tijuana. Let's get something to eat, Poppy said. He took us to the nearest restaurant. I had never been in a restaurant, and even though we still didn't know what we were going to do next, I sat down and enjoyed looking at the menu and getting to pick what meal I wanted to eat. The table had a flowery tablecloth covered with plastic to keep the stains out. There was a jukebox playing rancheras, and the waitress was dressed in a pretty blouse with ruffles and lace. I ordered fried pig's feet served with black beans. We hardly ever got to eat them. I loved sucking on the bones. Poppy made fun of me because everyone else had finished their food when I was still halfway through my meal, sucking each and every tiny bone of my pig's feet. I'm going to call you Huesitos instead of Chata, Papa teased. I smiled at the new nickname, Little Bones. What are we going to do now? Mago asked Poppy, now that our bellies were full. I stopped eating. I remembered what the coyote had said, that with children, the journey was harder. What if Poppy thought the coyote was right? We'll try again tomorrow, Poppy said, looking at me. I breathed a sigh of relief. But the second time we tried to cross, we had the same bad luck. Again, my short legs couldn't keep up with the others, and the heat of the sun's rays beating down on my head gave me a headache. Once, when we had sat down to rest, I walked away to pee in the bushes and found a man lying not too far from me. I thought he was sleeping, but when I got closer to him, I saw the flies buzzing over him and the big bump on his forehead. I screamed for help. Poppy arrived fast, first, followed by Coyote, and then Carlos and Mago. Poppy told Mago to shut me up before La Migra heard me. Is he dead? I asked Mago as she took me away. Is he dead? He's sleeping, Nana. He's just sleeping, she said. We got caught a half hour later. All right, so I've had better reading in the past, that's for sure. Sorry, got distracted too. Anyway, I need you guys here to help me too, because sometimes I don't know these words and how to say them like you would help me in class. Like little bones, I don't know how to say that in Spanish correctly. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the book and try to write a summary about what I just read or what we just read together so that I know what your thoughts are and what your feelings are of the chapter. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Stay well, and you will see me soon. Since I don't get to see you guys, I don't get to say I'll see you soon. You'll get to see me soon because I'll read you another chapter later. Have a good day. Bye.